Hollywood, baby.
That's why God created fathers, babe.
Ah.
This is a long one, George, but you know what? It had to be done.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yes, I'm getting teary-eyed because I just think Creepshow is just so beautiful in so many ways. And whenever they flip over to the next segment you're going into, I just love it's so done so well. The still shot on the page and how it fades into like the scene. It's just perfect. Like it just looks perfect.
I consider it the first comic book movie. Like before, like I understand that Superman had already come out and everything, and like there's been other comic book movies, movies based on comic books, but I consider it's the first true comic book movie
Hmm.
because like it gives us the feel of being in a comic book. Like you get
100%.
those panels, you get those page flips, like even the transitions feel like you're going through a comic book page.
Hmm.
So as a comic book lover, this was very cool to me.
And as someone who didn't grow up reading comics, it made me appreciate comics because I would love all the close-up shots with all the like accentuated backgrounds with the colors that looked like it was from a
Yeah,
comic page. I was like, wow, that's cool. And I didn't even read comics growing up, and I was like, that's cool. Like I just love that they did that. The like, mixed media together.
exactly. Yeah.
For movies to video games, welcome to Marie Plays It All. Today's episode is a deep dive with Jorge Marrero into Creepshow franchise.
The
One,
film
two, and three.
franchise. The film
Yes, the
franchise,
film
to be
franchise.
specific. Yeah.
TV shows, not too much. The films, all three.
Yeah, there was three, everybody,
Yeah,
believe it or
you didn't
not.
know. You don't need to know that. Trust me, we'll get into that.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of Creepshow.
Likewise.
I see your display this way. I don't see the number three DVD slot.
Yeah, I thought I still owned it. Apparently, I got rid of it. Rightfully so.
I have talked about Creepshow a ton because I owe Creepshow everything because it is, from what I can remember, the first horror movie I ever watched and loved. So my love for horror and everything stems from Creepshow. Like it just comes from that.
Yeah.
My uncle was obsessed with Stephen King, had all his books and had a big drawer of all Stephen King VHSs. So we would watch those all the time, but I remember watching Creepshow and I owe everything to it. So when do you remember? I don't know how old I was, maybe like 10, 9, I don't know. But would you remember watching Creepshow for the first
Oh,
time? Were you a kid or were you
I watched these
adult?
movies in the 80s. I watched these films.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
So
in
I
the
was still
90s, but
single. I
still.
was I was still in single digits. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Creepshow was a staple in my household.
Hmm.
We would watch one and two religiously, like
Hmm.
if not once a year for the Halloween season, possibly 2 to 3 times a year. Because my dad is a cinephile, like he just loves movies. Doesn't matter what it is, it's a movie. He loves to watch it, and that's that. My mom, like your uncle and like Dan's mom, loves Stephen King books. So she had a whole bunch of Stephen King books growing up and everything. So the fact that this was something that was written by him, then the George A. Romero thing, that was like, oh yeah, this is made for us. And then the comedy aspect is just a bonus.
You have horror royalty in this movie. A trio of horror royalty.
Yeah,
You have the screenplay written by Stephen King, you have it directed by George A. Romero, and you have the effects by Tom Savini.
that paired with actors, there's plenty of actors in this
Oh,
that are horror royalty also, like of
bring
that
it.
time. You
Who's
got
in it?
freaking what's his name? Tom Atkins. You got Adrian Barbeau.
Hmm.
Even to some extent, I want to say Leslie Nielsen had done some like serious horror back in the day. To some extent, he was a serious actor, like a dramatic actor. And like he didn't become like this comedy icon until like the late 80s, early 90s. So like
Yeah.
he lent some brevity to this film, at least for part one we're speaking of course.
Yes, we're talking about part one first. That's what we're going into first. It is just an iconic horror movie. Installment's my favorite word of the day. And it's an anthology. And we've been talking about horror anthologies in our group chat today. And this one,
Yeah.
I think is one of the best. It's what made me love them. The aesthetic of this movie made me obsessed with like the synthy kind of red and neon blue and everything, the lighting, the comic book style, the comic book expression type thing that like will appear behind the actors, the
Yeah.
music is like kind of 80s synth sometimes, and just the whole score of the movie is just perfect. I don't know. I have a soft spot for it.
It's a time capsule. It's a true
Yes,
time capsule of the era.
you're right. You're so right. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through each movie. I say that now, but we're gonna go through
Yeah.
Creepshow 1, Creepshow 2, each segment in them, talk about them a little bit. Then we're going to talk about our feelings overall for the movies, and we're going to rate our favorite segments in at least two of the movies. Because when we get to Creepshow 3, I have stuff to say, but the reason why I maybe don't want to get too deep into it. So, George, ready to
Yeah.
dive into Creepshow 1?
Yeah, let's do this.
Yes, you All right, so Creep Show 1, it opens up with it's not it's not really a wraparound story, is it? In the beginning we have Tom Atkins,
Yeah.
an abusive, rude, awful, terrible dad,
Yep.
this meek mother, and Stephen King's son plays
Yeah.
the child. What's his name? Joe
In real
Hill?
life, Joe Hill. I don't think it was Joe
Joe.
Hill at this time because he was still,
No.
you know, Stephen King's son.
Right. But it starts off this way, and then the dad finds the comic book, the Creepshow comic
Yeah.
book that his son's reading, and then he gets mad at his son. What you reading this crap for? And like smacks his son across the face. And then the creep comes to the window. And I'm just like, this looks awesome. I don't care. Like the
Yeah.
practical effects are so good. Like the creep looks so good. And he kind of is like, what does he do? He kind of is like, yeah, like summons him into what?
He's just really there. Like the
He's
creep
just there.
in part one, the creep doesn't even talk. The creep is
No.
just there being this
Mhm.
ominous presence. And he's kind of just like giving the boy of like, I got you, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
He does get him too. Like
Yeah.
he has his back
Yeah.
for
Because the
sure.
kid has done something. Like he's prepared to get his payback towards his father. You know, and it's almost like the creep show's like, yeah, it's in the mail. You know?
What a horrifying concept this is. Like think about it. They make it kind of light and comedic, but this is like dealing with child abuse and like
Oh
the
yeah,
murder
yeah.
the murder of your parents.
Yeah.
But there's an iconic line in the beginning there. That's why God created fathers, babe. That's why God created fathers.
Yeah. Can I say something that
You bet.
always like boggled my mind with the intro? The dad is furious with his son that's reading this horror comic. This is gross. This is smut. This is horrible for his mind. He shouldn't be reading this garbage. And the mother's like, "Oh no." He leaves the room and we see this room that's filled with I made a list of things here. We got a Rodan action figure, a Godzilla, a Hulk, a Crusher monster, which is the opposing villain of Stretch Armstrong. There's a Dracula poster, Raiders of the Lost Ark poster. He has a Frankenstein mask. Like this room is cluttered with horror paraphernalia. Who bought that for him?
Yeah.
Who
Why
bought
are you
him
so
all those
shocked?
things?
Why are you surprised?
Yeah, if he can't have the comic book, he sure as hell shouldn't have the rest of those things.
Yeah.
You must have bought him those because you're the dad. This is a time where like dads did all the work, dads did all the buying, and the moms were just there cleaning the house and taking care of the kid. So that
Hmm.
means this was all him. He did this, but now he's mad that he's reading a comic book. But like that part since a child to adulthood, I was like, what's going on here?
What
Like you are the
horrible
worst
mind
person.
games.
Are you bipolar? Are you?
Yeah.
But yes, the comic book intro, the pages start turning.
Yes. So we're gonna just go right in. First segment that there is Father's Day. I want my cake. This movie, the quotes, it's so quotable.
Filled with them. It's filled with
Filled.
one-liners. It's
I know. Father's Day is a family patriarch who was murdered by his daughter rises from the grave to take revenge. Okay. George, lay it on me. What are your feelings about Father's Day? I want to hear all your thoughts.
I feel like Father's Day was a great intro to this movie.
Hmm.
Because again, like you said, there's that iconic line, like the evil patriarch of this man, Bedelia, where's my cake? It's Father's Day. We would say that line to each other, me and my mom, my dad, all the time, and especially when Father's Day would come. Oh my God, my dad didn't care about Father's Day, but this gave him something to like enjoy because he gets to say
Yeah.
his line now, even though he didn't want cake, he didn't want presents, he didn't want any of that. He just wanted to say the line. That's all he
He knew
wants.
though. You better
Yeah.
not want cake, or I'm taking a marble ashtray right to your head.
We did have some big ashtrays in my house. Yeah, it's true. But no, I thoroughly enjoy this. There's as this thing ages, yes, if you're the first time coming into this, there is some hokey, cheesy acting, especially from some like veterans like Ed Harris. Ed Harris is not the
Dad,
Ed Harris that you know today. You know, like Ed Harris is a well-respected actor today. You see him in this, you're like, this can't be the same guy who I know who was like in freaking a history of violence and stuff like that. It's like, no, not that guy. A goofball and a half. You know, just
yeah,
dancing and stuff.
his dance,
It's
yeah,
so
the
good.
weirdest
Like,
dance scene you'll ever see.
yeah,
Want to
it's
see the weirdest dance
so
move with like a
stupid.
head?
But these kids and these grandchildren, oh, they give a good job of you making you hate them. Like you want
Yes.
them to be taken out. You don't want
Mhm.
anyone to survive in this story at all. And the only person who maybe has some kind of redemption or I don't know, something that you kind of feel for is maybe the lady who tells the story of what happened. You know, like how her sister like killed their dad and everything. Because you
Mm.
never hear her do anything bad. You know, it's not like she did anything. Maybe because she didn't stop her sister. I don't know.
She's such a snob though, and she's always calling her daughter
She
fat. And come on, I don't know. That's enough to get offed right there. You calling your daughter fat, you deserve to go.
know what it is? I come from a family where you kind of use that stuff. You know, Hispanic
Damn it,
families,
George.
Asian families, especially Asian families. Oh my God, my mother-in-law does not hold back when it comes to like how our weight looks.
Oh no.
She comes in hard. So it seems right.
Other cultures, man, I guess. I don't know. Us white folk were like, she shouldn't be saying that. She's a white woman. Say that.
Tom Savini and his makeup in this, he lets you know what's up immediately. Like I think the special effects in this still hold up till today. I think that
Oh, absolutely.
the dead dad still looks very horrific and creepy as hell and everything. Like I wouldn't want to freaking open the kitchen and see this guy with a head on a plate.
Oh, the effects in this are amazing. The score in this one gets me every time. Like I just when it hits in, when she's like when Aunt Bedelia is driving down the road, and I'm just like, oh God, it's coming. I love the music so much. And Aunt Bedelia, what's her name? The actress Vivica Lindorfs. She's amazing. She's absolutely incredible. And I didn't the older I get and the more I watch Creepshow, the more I appreciate it. And I see it as less cheesy now than I did when I was young. And there's a reason why I see it as less cheesy, but I watch it now and I'm like, wow, these performances are especially for an anthology, like a little horror comedy anthology. I'm like, wow, everyone's giving it their all. Like they're taking it seriously and I can feel it.
I think it's because you have those older veteran actors too.
Yes.
You know, like
Oh,
these are people
definitely.
who have already paid their dues and have made their way through Hollywood. So having them in this film, it's just like I said, there's this gravitas to them where it's just like, oh yeah, they're not going to phone it in. They're already known for doing great work. It's not going to stop now.
Can't stop, won't stop. No, not with Creepshow. We keep going.
I will note there's one thing about Father's Day that I always crack up at, and it goes back
Mhm.
to Ed Harris, and it's when he goes out looking for Aunt Bedelia,
Mhm.
and like he ends up in the grave, and he just
Mhm.
has so much time to like get out of the way, and he just watches that tombstone get pushed on him. Like he's just there. Ah, ah. I always imagine like what was the direction in that moment? Like how long do you drag that and try to pretend like you're scared and you're helpless? Because you're a big dude. Like you could just roll.
Mhm. You can just
But
like,
he's
"Eh."
yeah, like the initial like oh snap, dead body thing, like things are happening. I get it. But like he has like 5 minutes to like get out of
I think so.
there.
And when he picks up that open bottle of Jack Daniels and just looks at it and goes,
Okay. Yes.
his little shrug,
Yeah. I
right
think that
on.
was the setup. It's like this is not a man of good decisions.
Yes. Yes. Not a man of good decisions, except for marrying rich and but maybe he's not too smart. He's like,
Yeah.
"No,
He's just a pretty face.
with the best dance moves ever."
Because they make a point to note to note that it's like at least he's a good looking guy. That's like what the mother says or whatever, right? It's like you married a good looking guy because she's kind of hitting on him within the story.
Is she?
She's
I
she's
thought she
loosely she's loosely is like got the hots for him.
I always viewed it as he was patronizing. I always looked at it like she was
Oh,
like You're patronizing him. See, I look at her like a no, a vindictive, manipulative old shrew. That's what I look at. We look at her different ways. I like
Yeah.
that.
I think by the end, like when she lets her hair down and she's had a few glasses of wine, I honestly feel like if he was still alive, there could have been an extra scene where she tries to like put the moves on him.
Oh, George, we gotta see that. We gotta see that. We need
Director's
we
cut.
need some sort of yeah director's cut. Okay, do you want to move on to the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill, a foolish farmer consumed by greed? I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
Faces
Yeah,
faces dire consequences after discovering a mysterious meteor. I don't think he's consumed. This is a bad synopsis. I don't think he's consumed by greed. He's consumed by
I think of hope.
desperation,
Yeah, the
hope, and
possibility.
desperation. Yeah, stupid Chat GPT. AIs don't know. They, they look at someone who wants money is greedy. No, you don't know what hardships are. AI.
Especially
Anyway,
think about the greed. In his imagination, he thinks he's gonna get $200 for
yeah,
a meteor. That's greedy.
no. Okay,
That says a lot
no,
about
it's
the
kind of
80s. The 80s, the $200 go a long way, man.
yeah. And that just shows to me like his just like how desperate he is just for money and also how simple he is. So Jordy Verrill is played by Stephen King. And this might be controversial opinion, but I think Stephen King effing slays at this role. Think he is incredible. I think he's so good. And when I was young, I didn't like this one because it didn't have any
Really?
gore. It didn't have much like gore really. It didn't have scary monsters. It didn't have anything. I thought it was slow paced, but as you watch it as an adult, you're like, this is truly horrifying because it's actually pretty emotionally terrifying and mentally,
Yeah.
and you think about it, and it's just it has more this one has a little more depth to it if you really if you are watching it as an adult as compared to when you were a child. It's like, "Holy crap, this is sad." It's very sad. It's just what do you think? What do you think of some The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, this segment?
Uh, so I guess I had a different feeling towards this one than you did. As
Mm,
a kid, I loved this one.
okay.
This was probably one of my favorite ones of the whole movie. And
Ah.
it's because like I think he's a bad actor. He's not a good actor in my opinion.
I
Even
think he's
back
so
then,
good
I
in
didn't
it.
think he was a great actor, but that didn't mean he didn't fit.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like there's
Meteor
other act
shit!
yeah, yeah, like he's still iconic. He's very iconic in the
Yes.
moment of what's happening. Like he may have been the perfect person for this role still because
Yes.
of the lack of experience in this craft. You know, some of
Mm.
that rawness kind of leaned into this character because he's kind of
Mhm.
like that baby Huey Lenny like character almost. You get that dumb
Yeah.
oaf kind of feel where it's just like that heart of gold, but he's just maybe not that bright. And granted, Stephen King is super smart. Like
Mhm.
that it's the total opposite of this guy. But like I said, not having that art of the craft kind of thing helped, I think, with doing this. And I think he was so endearing in this
Yes.
role and everything. And to me, this role has the most heart out of all the stories
Absolutely. I 100%
because
agree.
of what happens.
Yes.
And it's the most layered because there's a lot of humorous moments to it. Like that you need the humor as a juxtaposition to the horrid thing that is happening to him and his land and essentially what's going to happen to the world.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
horror, and that's they leave it open at the end so you know as a viewer, "Oh god, it's like the end of
yeah.
times." They
Like this
don't
is an
even just show it.
apocalyptic story.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It hits me so hard every time I watch it now when he sits down in his chair and he looks so sad and he just comes to the realization he's like, I'm growing. Like, I'm growing. Like there's no stopping it. It's happening. But that this one really the more you understand it, which I think I didn't really until I was older, I was just like, God, this is true. Like this is, he knows that it's over. He's trying what he can to survive or do it, drinking booze, doing everything he can to just kind of escape it. And he knows he can't at the end, and it's just so sad. And he's praying to God, and even his vocal cords are getting growing and infected. You can tell
Yeah.
his
This
voice changes, and he's like praying to God, just like let him not screw up this one time. Cry, man.
no.
It's so sad. Because his dad is like, "You're a screw up," and he has that phantom image with his dad, and it's just like he feels like such a loser and a screw up, and all he wants to do is off himself because he can't live like this, and he's begging that he doesn't screw up one time. Like, come on, like that's sad.
Right.
Creepshow.
That's why, like, that synopsis of like the greed, it's like, no, it's like when you see that moment of him thinking about what his dad would be telling him in that moment, and his dad's
Yes.
just belittling him. So that's what he's got in his head at all times, is that his dad was never proud of him. His dad thought little of him, and that he was going to be nothing and live up to be nothing. And so, like, that meteor was like his golden ticket at a chance to prove, like, if I have just a little bit, I can make that go somewhere, and then I can go somewhere. That was his way out. And it's
Yep.
like, it's just a sad, so sad thing. It's like, nah, man, this is your demise. The universe is not on your side today. I would say this is
Stephen
also
King.
possibly the most atmospheric of the bunch too, because it
Yes.
because it goes back and forth, because it wants you to see the progression of the growing of, like, the
Hmm.
grass and the foliage and all this stuff. So you'll go outside and you'll see his land and his barn and everything,
Hmm.
and like, just how that whole thing was filmed and lit, like, it gives you a full grasp of what he's living in and what it's becoming.
Hmm. And the way it's lit is it's like this isn't normal foliage. This isn't
Yeah.
normal
Yeah.
flora because it's like neon glow and it has this it was just done so well. It's just so good. Okay, so the next segment was something to tide you over, and it is a man seeking revenge on his cheating wife and her lover meets a fittingly grim fate when they return from the dead. Okay, okay, okay. That's one. So this one Leslie Nielsen, Ted
Ted
Danza. Ted
Danson.
Danza.
Yeah.
Ted what?
You said Tendanza
Do you know why? Do you know why I
because
said
of
Ted Danza?
Dan? Is that because of Dan? Is that
Yeah,
for one of your past episodes?
I didn't even mean to say it. I'm like,
uh,
I'm gonna say it the right way. And I said it the Daniel way. Damn it, that kid got in my mind. Hey,
uh,
Ted Danson.
Ted Danson of
Ted,
Cheers.
Ted, Ted Danson of Cheers. Yes, I do know his
Yeah.
name for real. It's just that's now embedded in me. Okay, George, talk to me about something that tied you over. How do you feel about it? What are your thoughts?
I always had mixed feelings of this one with the characters. I like this one because I thought it was still well done. I think this is possibly the best acted and performed out of the bunch. On a
Yes.
personal level, like, I think, like, Leslie Nielsen is phenomenal at all times. And I think
Hmm.
Ted Danson was actually really good. And, like, I'm used to funny Ted Danson. Like, when I watched this, I was already watching Cheers. So I had a certain thought of who Ted Danson was. And then I saw this, I was like, this is not who I think it is. He's not the cool guy that's funny and charming and stuff like that. Like, he's kind of a bad guy because he was taking this guy's wife. Granted, the guy whose wife he took wasn't a great guy either, but there's right
Great.
and wrong ways of going about things, right? Like, people could just get divorced and then go on their merry way.
Clearly she couldn't. Clearly she couldn't because if she wanted to, this is what would have happened,
I guess, yeah, but
I think.
because of how the story plays out, like, it's a scorned lover who wants revenge, and he's just
Hmm.
like, you can't take what belongs to me, so now you die. And to some extent, like, if you put yourself in his shoes, you kind of get where he's coming from. You're not gonna like the guy that's fucking taking your girl. That's it. But at the
Yeah,
same
I'm
time,
like, no, I'm like,
murder
no.
murder isn't good. It's like, you could just, like I said, get a divorce and just, like, kick her to the curb. His way of kicking her to the curb, that was to the shore, and we saw where that gets you.
But if he kicks her to the curb, then he has to split half his money and he's clearly rich and he doesn't want to do that. So, he just kills her. So I
Yeah.
I look at it like no wonder she was cheating on you. Yeah, yeah, jerk.
Yeah, he
Like
was
I
he was a
do.
crazy man. It's a
I
great.
mean anyway, yeah, so that's what happens. Okay, so you had mixed
Yeah.
feelings about it, yes.
Yeah, but just, like, in the sense of, like, I feel like this story gives you, like, for me, if you look at both parties, it's hard to root for someone. In essence, everyone was wrong in all of their parts. No one was a good person here. So everyone dying is almost just, to some extent.
I
You know?
I see. I always viewed it as like he's the bad, Leslie Nielsen's the bad one, and he deserves what he gets, and they didn't deserve it. Just because I'm like, you're clearly like great, and also this is another thing. It shows him opening up. He has the videotapes. He's taping them being buried. First of all, this is awesome. Like it looked awesome. It felt so
Oh, yeah.
real. I don't know how they filmed a lot of it. Even when I watch it now, I'm like that. water's really going up his nose, that sand's really in his face, and I don't know how they really did it. I tried to look out online and find out, like, what it was like, and he's underwater for a long time in that one scene.
My guess, I believe that was filmed upside down. His face is kind of red,
Mhm,
which happens when you're held upside down, and then that would alleviate that whole being covered thing here. So like
mhm.
that part that there's the sand is actually just a lid that has probably maybe some kind of like suction or whatever thing here, and they just put his head through that thing, and he's held upside
Okay.
down, and they film it that way, and
Mm,
then they can just
I
like take
like
him
it.
out. Because if he was buried and everything, that's harder to
No.
film. How are you gonna do
For
that?
that
I
water
mean,
scene, yeah, for that
yeah,
water scene, that's
yeah,
done so but that I always love that scene where, like, the lighting fades and it gets red glows red behind his
yeah.
head, and it's just, oh, it's such a good transition. What was I saying right before this? Oh, yeah, but it shows Leslie Nielsen, I forget his Richard's his name. It shows him in his room, and he's talking about the maid moving his videotapes, and he has all those home recorded videotapes, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, "You are a serial killer. Like, what are all these tapes?" I think they're in my mind,
Oh,
I'm like, "They are tapes that you recorded other people's demises," is what I was thinking.
okay. I like that. I
Yeah.
always looked at it as like a guy who is just like almost like OCD about
Mhm.
things, like that clearly shows to some extent, like he's like everything has its place kind of thing.
But why so many home movies like that? What's on those tapes, Richard? But anyway, this one I always liked. I liked the music again also. I liked the kind of sea creature-esque, bubbly, under the water sounds, kind of dolphiny noise that the
Yeah.
couple gets when they come out and how they're all like covered in like this like
The
kelp type
seaweed.
thing and they're
Yeah.
bloated looking and it's just oh and just like the filming of the water going up into the face like you feel it like I have a fear of drowning so when I see it I'm like like you too
Yeah.
yeah
Just like
like just
suffocation, like the idea of like
yes
suffocation. Like I'll have
hmm
bad nightmares of like of drowning, even though I know how to swim. But
hmm
just
hmm
like, you don't get out in time. They capture it so well in this scene.
they
Just
really
the
do
slow burn of the water coming at you, and then eventually being fully submersed and no escape.
it's so good I love that one I love it I think it's so well done
Yeah. Can you hold your breath?
the next one is the crate. Okay. A hidden discovery at a university leads to a series of gruesome events as a dangerous secret is used to settle personal vendettas with deadly consequences. Oh.
The crate. I think this is the one that's like iconic. Like when I think of Creepshow, I think this is the one that everyone thinks
Yeah.
about, and it's because of Fluffy. It's because
Yep.
of that little thing, that little freaking like ape creature, whatever it is. It's weird. It's in my mind as a memory as a child, and all the way growing up and watching this movie every year. I always
Mhm.
imagine this creature being this massive thing because the face engulfs the whole screen whenever you see it. But I have to
Yeah.
always remember, it's like, no, it fits in that crate.
Yep.
Like it's
Yeah.
actually this little thing. But it's just got this massive head
And the
that could
mouth
just
is
eat
just
a
the
whole
teeth.
body. It was so terrifying. Like if you're a
Yeah.
kid and you're afraid of the dark and you're afraid of things under your bed, like that, what can be in the crevices of darkness? It's like this is what I see. I see that thing every time. Like however funny and goofy this movie can be, there is terror also.
Mhm.
And this thing is the most terrifying thing, like as a creature within the whole movie. And at the
I
same time,
absolutely
he's our
agree.
hero. He's
Yes. Yes, he is. I don't know why I wasn't more afraid of it when I was a kid. Like the crate to me, I was just like that hooked me. Like that really really got me. I loved Fluffy so much.
yeah.
I don't know why I was because it is truly horrifying and the deaths are horrifying and the idea of it under the stairs like you never know like one of those could be lingering somewhere like you don't know. And I like how it's kind of it reminds me of The Thing because isn't it like the Arctic and there's like a date
Yes.
on it and it's like
Yep.
kind of ties in with The Thing a little bit
Well, it's
in
the
some
name.
way.
The name on the box is Julia Carpenter, and who directed the thing?
Yes. So I didn't see. I didn't even think about that yet. It was just more like, oh, the Arctic and this year and blah blah. Blah. And I was like, oh, this is like kind of like thing. But yeah, the carpet cheese. Oh man, this movie's
Yeah.
great.
This the creep show, especially part one. there's so many layers and nuances to it. Like you can tie it to other little things, whether it's in the comic book world or the horror movie world. Like there's just so much to it. Like you can tell that the creators had a passion for horror. Like through and
Absolutely.
through. It was undeniable how much horror is loved and appreciated in this film.
You can tell they had fun with it and just they're just like the passion behind it. You feel it. It's
Yeah.
palpable.
And like and
Definitely.
in this one, this is where you get Adrienne Barbeau, who is the ultimate bitch. Oh my god. The true greatness of an actor is when they can get you to hate them.
Oh yeah.
To me, like it's not for you to get. It's easy to get someone to love you. I think it's hard to get someone to hate you, like to truly hate you, because being nice isn't that hard. All right, but being a bitch, that takes gusto. All right, and the thing is, like in real life, Adrienne Barbeau is a freaking sweetheart. She's such a nice lady. But in this movie, oh my god, you just like there's no redemption for her. Like she is just the pure evil. And all you can think is like, why is this poor man stuck with her? Like, what? How did they end up together? How did he get stuck with her? Because he seems like the kindest old man who just wants to play chess with his friend. That's all he wants. Maybe teach some kids in college and just play some chess with his best mate. That's all. And if he can have a wife that supports that, that'd be awesome.
Nah, he needed someone dominant because he's not. That's what this is his
Yeah,
redemption
apparently,
story.
yeah,
It was his redemption story. He was like, "No,
yeah.
I'll show you. I'm the boss. I'm the boss. I'm the captain now." That's what this is. And I think the performances in this one are just as good as Something to Tide You Over. I think they're amazing. When
Yes,
the one
yes,
professor, his the Wilma's husband's friend, I forget his name in it now. But anyway, when he finds the crate and then he sees the janitor get eaten and then he's running out to the hallway and he bumps into that student and he's like like a bumbling idiot. He's like, "Who?" He's like that acting. He starts laughing and I'm just like the
yeah.
shock on this guy. And every time I watch it, I'm like, God damn, that was so good. That was so good. And yeah, Wilma, God, she is. You do hate her. You hate her so much. And it's funny because I really like as I get older, I don't like her. Don't worry. I'm glad that she's gone. She needs to go. But it's funny because she has this caring side. Like she actually thinks that university student girl is crying under
The
the
stairs,
stairwell.
yeah.
And her husband's like, she'll listen to you. You need to help her. And she's like, okay. She goes there and she's like, oh my God, did he beat her? And she's like, she wants to help this girl. And it's like, this is the one time we see you as a human wanting to actually help this maybe abused whatever girl. And then it's like, this is what's gonna get. I want to wear your balls for earrings. Like she's just so bad. Like just it just her death is so good. The one I think the student guy with the glasses getting his face
Yeah,
ripped with the teeth,
spot on.
so good. Again the score so good. Oh man.
I love that that kid, like the student, looks like such a dweeb too. Like
Yeah,
this is like a
yeah.
nerdy looking student, but I'm glad
Hmm.
that they gave him like he has the balls to go into it. It's like it's no big deal. I understand you're petrified and there's blood everywhere. I got this.
I
That's like,
got
all
this.
right, good job, nerd. Good
Yeah,
job. You're gonna
yeah.
die,
I
but yeah, at least you got some courage.
We agree that the crate is great.
Oh yeah, the crate is great.
Crate is great.
Yeah, it's also got I think one of the best stills of when Wilma sees the creature, and
Hmm.
like the most
Mm.
iconic like red scene of her like horror, and then seeing the creature itself, that full bloody face and everything. Like
Oh,
I love that still. Like I kind of sometimes I
oh,
just pause it because I want to see it. It's like, oh, I want to bathe in this right now.
it's art.
Yeah.
It's so artistically gorgeous. Like the aesthetic in this movie is just okay. Next one is
Okay.
okay, here we go. They're creeping up on you. A heartless, wealthy businessman with a phobia of germs and insects gets overrun by cockroaches, symbolizing his internal rot. That's what
That's
AI
actually
said.
good. That's actually really good.
That's pretty good. His
Yeah.
internal rot. Interesting, deep.
Yeah. That one understood the metaphor of the sword.
Yeah, it did. Because it looks at us as cockroaches. That's why we're the
Yeah,
cockroaches to AI. Okay, how do you
probably.
feel with this one?
This this is probably the weakest of the stories, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Like it's they're all really good. This is just doesn't. It's just the weakest of like greatness, in my
Mhm,
opinion. I think it's still a really good story. It's probably the most real of the bunch, just in
mhm,
the sense like cockroaches are real, infestations in New York are real. You could experience something kind of close to this.
mhm,
And as a kid, like I hate to say, but we didn't live in always the greatest areas, and sometimes cockroaches were a thing. And so, like I remember we had a home where we had new neighbors that came in, and we ended up getting infested because of the new neighbors. They had bad furniture or whatever. So our
mhm.
whole place got screwed. And every time I'd see this one, it felt too relative. And it's just
Ooh.
like you watch this one and you get the heebie-jeebies. Like you
Yeah,
kind of feel like something's crawling on you, and it's like, ah, and it's like that roaches are just like these, like they're dirty, they're gross bugs. Out of all the
yes.
insects, like they're the ones because they just don't want to die, and it's just like,
Mhm,
oh, there's this festering thing. So like even though you don't like him, he's bad. At the same time, you don't like the thing that's tormenting him either. Like both things are hated in this. Like I don't even see the roaches as heroes. I just see like a bunch of bad happening on the screen. It's just like, ah, oh, he's evil. Ah, you guys are evil. Ah, so much evil. That's how I feel when I watch this one.
mm. Interesting, because I'm like, "Go, roaches, go." Because because the roaches are a metaphor for, all the people who work for him, right? Like, he looks
Yes,
at
yeah, yeah.
everyone, like, beneath him and everything like that, and he treats because he's this rich, type of like boss guy, right? And he's basically making his this is the one I've watched the least. My whole life watching Creepshow, I usually turn it off before this one. I think a lot of it
Oh,
has to do, yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the aesthetic again. Anything that's like too crisp, white, one note color, it kind of I don't like the feeling it gives me. I find it, I don't know.
but that
Too
goes with his
white.
personality. That goes
It
with him.
does.
He is
I
one
know, and
note, and that's a really bad note.
it's true. It is very true. And again, as I got older, I saw like the underlying meaning of it, and then I appreciated it more. And I am totally rooting for the cockroaches in this one. I look at them, they're disgusting, they're so gross. I understand. But if anyone deserves a cockroach infestation and to have a death by cockroaches, it's this dude. And it's because you have no power. You think you're so powerful, a bug will get you. So, well, I mean, 20,000 bugs,
Yeah, my God.
but still,
Ah, ah, ah.
the most expensive part of Creepshow was the bringing all the live cockroaches in.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, and containing them.
Yes, yes, and they actually used 20,000 real cockroaches. That's ugh.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having that on set?
Imagine being that actor. Imagine having to be the actor who has all the cockroaches on him.
Imagine being the
Oh,
makeup person having to
no, no,
powder all these
no.
cockroaches all the time. Like, come on now.
Know who I love in that segment is
Hmm.
the super or handyman of the building.
Hmm.
Like you don't get to see much of him, but you get to hear him. Hi, Mr. Pratt. Yes, sir, Mr. Pratt. Oh, Mr. Pratt. Like he's kind of like a roach too. Like
Hmm.
obviously, like we were saying, everyone who works for him is beneath him in his eyes.
Hmm.
But like he's fully aware. He's like, I know you don't like me, and I don't like you either, and my voice is gonna show it. And but
Oh
but I'm
yeah.
gonna pretend though as if like I love working for you, and that everything I do is for you, and I'm on top of everything. It's like he's just it's such a perfect antagonizing voice.
So George, we talked about all the segments.
Now it's the final ending of the overarching story.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Tell me what happens there, George.
Tom Atkins, the asshole father, gets his comeuppance. We find out why the boy is so happy to see the creeper outside his window. Because in that comic book, there was a little cutout to get
Voodoo doll.
a voodoo doll. Thank you. I was like, safety pin doll. But it's like, no, but yeah, the voodoo doll. And he gets it, and he is just poking the crap out of that voodoo doll to no end. And you just see the dad trying to like eat his breakfast, and he's just choking on it, and he is just dying in the kitchen. And the mother doesn't know what to do, but the boy's just having a grand old time. This is the thing where it's just like you shouldn't be happy to see a child, like a child shouldn't be happy to kill his dad. It's like you think to like Star Wars, Force Awakens. we're all gutted when Kylo Ren kills his dad, Han Solo. You're not supposed to do that. But in this movie, it's like, yeah, kill your dad. Bad dad.
Yeah.
Bad
Yeah,
dad.
bad dad. Get that justice,
Yeah.
Joe
All
Hill.
those
Jeez.
all those good things your dad did for you, like buy you all those horror things that you love, ignore all that. This one time he slapped you and took away your comic book. Evil man.
One slap's enough. One slap's
Yeah.
enough. That means more slaps are coming. Yeah.
That ending has changed for me as I've gotten older. Because as a
Mm.
kid, when you're a kid, you're a young boy, you've gotten slapped by your dad 1,000 times. you know, you're just like, yeah, F you, you son of a bitch. Yeah, I'm that kid. Yeah, stabby, stabby, stabby. As an
No,
adult, as a grown-ass man who knows like the hardships of taking care of a family, I'm just like, that freaking kid. He got slapped once. He got slapped once, and he tries to kill his dad. He got slapped. Yes. Oh no, he took away your comic book. How are you gonna live? Oh no. You still have a house, right? He got you that house. This man busts his ass every day. It's like he slapped you with his hand. Oh my god, it's just a hand. You ever been slapped with a belt?
I am more horrified right now. I'm watching Creepshow. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I didn't get slapped. So I was like, yeah, kill your dad. I'm still like, yeah, kill your dad. So, George,
Yes.
overall thoughts on what you want to say about Creepshow.
I love this movie. To me, I'm with you. To me, this is the epitome of what it is to do an anthology series, right? If you ever need to think
Totally.
about how do you do it, this is it. This is the blueprint right here. It doesn't have to be a comic book based, but it
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 helps.
gives you it helps for
Yeah.
sure, but it does everything. Like we said, we've been talking about this in our personal chats within our group. you know
Mm.
Overarching theme sets the tone. You get what you're getting with this. It's like it's gonna be horror. There might be a little bit of camp in there, and it's gonna be comic like. Things are gonna be striking, and that the rest of your stories are going to come from this book that this boy has. So everything is set up for you in a matter of like 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't take much to set this whole thing up. And even at the very end, it's like maybe a few minutes, and then boom, you get to your ending. Like it doesn't take a lot to set the premise, but it does it perfectly. And that's what happens when you have a master writer like Stephen King and a great horror director like George Romero.
You're talking about an overarching theme, okay? A cohesive narrative you said today, which I thought was
Yes.
so great. And because this one Creepshow definitely has it, because if you watch every single segment, there's some sort of social commentary about like the class system, stereotypes about how the rich are and how they treat people beneath them, and how the poor behave and the desperation of the poor, and like it's just every single one has something like that. That's why I appreciate it more as an adult, because I'm like, there's actually a lot more depth to Creepshow than I first initially saw when I watched it as a kid, and I loved it as a kid. I've just grown every time I watch it. I love it more and more and more.
Yeah, it mirrors the thing that it's trying to emulate, which is horror comic books.
Yeah.
If anyone who read like eerie, creepy, even Tales from the Crypt comic books from EC, like all these books for the kids, yes, the immediate thing is that shock value of what you're getting. You're getting highly
Mhm.
detailed characters with really cool stories. But as you get older, you come to find out it's like, oh wait, there was some depth to these stories. Like there was
Yeah.
more happening here that I didn't realize. It wasn't just monsters. It's like there was actually also turmoil and conflict within like the human characters and what they're going through, and sometimes the monsters and what they're going through. Like it
Yes.
all stood for something. It was an allegory for something else that was happening within that timeline. And then the 80s culture and society and like where you laid in within all that, the structure of economics, that was a huge thing in the 80s. Not like it's not now, but it was
Mm.
very prolific in that time, in the Reagan era.
There's another thing that ties all these stories together: the ashtray.
Wait, was the ashtray in every thing?
Every single one.
Wait, the same ashtray or an ashtray?
The same ashtray that is hit over. Yeah.
See, that's awesome. That's a
I
small
know.
thing. That's a real
I
small
know.
thing to connect everything together.
I know.
That's a rare thing where like I learned something new about an old movie that I love. So thank you for
Oh,
that.
yay.
That's what
Yay. That makes me happy. Okay, in the first Creep Show, which is the one that you think is the best?
the
Let's do that first.
best.
Your favorite. There you go. That's different than the best, but your favorite one.
My favorite now is I think it's the crate. I think the
Okay.
crate is my favorite one.
The crate's huge. When I think about my childhood and think about why I love Creepshow so much, and I the crate is the number one glowing part that really got me. Like that's my favorite thing.
But I think we probably have the same close second, which is it Jordy?
No, you know what?
No.
No, you know what?
Oh,
It's really hard because I think my second one would be Father's Day, just because
okay. It's good.
I
It's
don't
really
I don't know
good.
I don't know I don't know if it's the aesthetic, I don't know if it's the gore and the monster, I don't know if it's the music. It's just there's I love watching that one. Bedelia and Bedelia, you bitch, you called me a bitch. I just love her. I don't know if my voice cut out there. It doesn't pick up high
No,
pitch,
I
but
heard you. That was good.
okay, good. I love that one. Yours favorite be Jordy? Second
I think
favorite?
Jordy would be second. Yeah. I think the
Hmm.
third one will be Father's Day for me.
See, my third, it goes between now as an adult, I would think it would be the Geordie one, even though I really love something to tide you
Okay.
over. But so then your fourth would be
The
something
tide you
to
over.
tide you over. Yeah, and then our
Yeah.
last one would be cockroaches. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Do you want to move on to Creepshow 2?
The sequel.
The sequel. This movie, I mean, it has low ratings. A lot some people think like make fun of it, think it's bad. You know what? It's not as good as Creepshow 1. I mean, like you can't be, but this one has a charm
But it's
to
not
it.
bad.
And it's not bad. And it has probably one of my favorite segments in all of Creepshow put together, even the first one. So we'll get to
Oh,
which one that is. Yeah, I
okay.
know.
I'm
There's
curious which one
one
it is.
this one was screenplay was written by Jorge Romero, right? In this
Yes.
one,
Yeah,
which
so
is
the first
awesome.
one's screenplay was written by Stephen King,
Hmm.
and I think this shows the difference between the two movies
Hmm.
because we talked a lot about like how great the characters were in the first one and how deep certain storylines were and everything and how layered and leveled it was. That Stephen King's writing really showed in the first one.
Hmm.
This one being written by Ramiro, inspired by Stephen King stories. And from
Hmm.
what I understand, I think only actual one story was probably even inspired by Stephen King. So he probably created the two on his own. I think this is going to show a big difference, and I understand why people probably don't like this one as much as the first one.
There is also a cheesiness to this one that feels different than the first Creep Show. It has more of like the cheesy vibe. Maybe it's the electric guitar. A lot of it has to do with the score, man.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of like "Reow," like electric guitar. It's like
the
"Reow, reow,
whale, the
reow," like
whale of a guitar.
yeah, the whale. It's a little much, but there's only three stories in Creep Show 2.
Yes.
The first one is Old Chief Woodenhead. This story revolves around an elderly couple who run a small general store in a dying town. The couple is entrusted with a stash of valuable Native American artifacts.
Yeah.
However, the store is soon to be robbed by a group of young delinquents who steal the artifacts. I don't want to give spoilers, but anyway, there's a statue of an old Indian chief. I'm going to be
Yeah.
culturally inappropriate right now.
But he's
Outside
a
their
specific
store.
thing. He's a cigar Indian. So like back
Yes,
in
he
the
is.
day when you'd have cigars, you'd have like these big Indian wooden carvings on the outside your
Yes.
store, and they were part of like selling the cigars.
Hmm. And the old man who owned the store treated the cigar store Indian like a person, talked to it, repainted his war paint, like kind of just
They're
treated
like
him
old
like he was
friends.
part. Yeah, it was like part of the store, part of like the family type thing. So that's the little synopsis about that. What are your thoughts on it?
This one I had a connection to as a kid,
Mm.
because growing up I had really long hair. Like I had hair down to my
Ooh.
butt. And being Puerto Rican, that means you have like Taino Indian blood in you. And so I was always raised with that thing of like I'm Indian, So my mom and dad always was like, you're Indian. This is what you have. This is your heritage and everything. So you got to have the long hair and all this stuff. So I felt connected to this because of that. Later on, I find out Taino Indians and American Indians are two different kind of Indians. But but in either case, like I felt relative to this story,
Mhm.
and every time I see the delinquent, it's like the nephew or whatever of
Mhm.
like the local
The
chief and the
chief.
local tribe, like he's such a freaking piece of shit. And
Yeah.
and first of all, he's a white guy. He's not really
Yeah.
Indian. And second of all, the wig. Like as a kid, I don't notice it. But as an adult, that wig is so horrendous, and it's
Uh,
just like, oh, yeah, that hair is not going to get you the fame you think it's going to get you, sucker. All right.
oh.
But he takes this pride in his hair. in the movie. Like he takes this movie like this hair's gonna get me to Hollywood. It's gonna get me fame. It's and then for me that was the pride of myself was my hair. Like over time I really had a great appreciation for it. It was a part of my identity to some extent. And I just felt like as you watch it, it's like you don't deserve that because you have no respect for your tribe, no respect for your people,
Mhm.
respect for your culture or yourself. It's like you have this gift per se thrust upon you that you have no right to. And then he just terrorizes this poor family that has so much respect for their town and for his people. Like
Yes.
the wife's just like, why are we still here, man? Like we gotta get the hell out of here. All right. It's like this we haven't had a sale in months. Our town is dying, our shop is dying. Let's just retire. Let's just go. And he's just like, no, like he felt like this old man's like, no, I still have something to offer these people. Like we still have something. Because when we had nothing, they gave us. So now we gotta take care of them. And like you just see that honor and friendship that he has with the tribe and everything. It's like it's so beautiful. And just to see it shat on, it's like, man, you have no idea how good this guy is. Like he's
I
so good
know.
to your people, and you have no idea. And so like when he just takes them out, it's so like I feel for them. Like it's a sad moment. I
Mm,
almost get feel that sadness of like the Geordie storyline to some extent because
yeah.
of what they represent. And like this probably like plays through pretty quickly in like the revenge aspect. I feel like once Chief Woodenhead comes to life and he goes after them, like he's just bam, 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 he's taking them out like fly. you know.
Hmm.
But like when he gets that last guy, that he gets the nephew and he just scalps him, it's like it's in the Indian world to be scalped is such a dishonorable thing.
Hmm.
Granted they were scalping people too, but like there's like this tit for tat. It's almost like equivalent to the N word for African
Mm,
Americans. That's their N
hmm.
word is the scalping, and so like it's such a deep cut meaning for when it happens, and you just feel it's like, yeah, you don't deserve that hair. Take that shit. And that last moment, that last scene when you see the chief, they're like you feel like the chief is standing with such purpose. Like before he
Yeah.
was just there, but now he's there with the sun hitting him and he has the mane in his hand. Oh, so gratifying.
It's so good when I even love when the uncle of the nephew who was scalped sees, and he just totally understands and like almost honors the fact that he scalped his nephew because he gets it. And there's no even thought about, oh wow, this wooden chief came alive. It's like, no, because they kind of, I mean, like spiritual type things like that. It's like, yeah, you did it. You came alive and you did it. Like they
Exactly.
like respected that. Like they like, oh yeah, you came alive and you did it. Cool, good. He deserved it because he was gonna market off his heritage, basically sell his soul essentially just for fame. This is the one that's all about greed
Exactly.
with
This
that
is full
guy.
of greed. Yeah.
I know. And I still quote, over here, lady. I quote that all the time when like that's one of the things. But
Uh,
yeah, this one, the Indian uh chief wooden head looked so good. I just think the practical effects on this guy, the guy in the suit, like I don't know how his acting, like it is so good. The makeup, I think is incredible.
it
I
looks
love it.
legit. It looks like a
Oh
legit
yeah.
wooden statue.
It does. It's done so well. The way he moves is so well. His weird howl that he does doesn't sound quite human,
Yeah.
and it's just I it's haunting, and it adds a scariness to it because it's like you aren't human, and it is scary what's happening, but it's like this dude deserves it. Good for you. Like good good for you.
This one went against the cuff as far as I'm concerned, because like you think back to the first Creepshow
Hmm.
and all of those stories for the most part, except for like Geordie, it's generally someone bad getting something bad done to them.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's all like either revenge or something like that. Like someone's getting their just desserts. Geordie's the only story where you cut is like this poor guy. Like, what did he do to
Hmm.
deserve this? Well, this one, it's someone, it's that revenge thing, but in the proper end. Like these
Hmm.
people need redemption. It's the first time I think we saw redemption in one of the Creepshow stories.
You know what? This whole movie is about redemption. That's
You,
the overarching
yeah,
story of this,
yeah.
if you think about it. Okay. So did we say everything for the Chief Windhead then?
Well, there's I guess little Easter eggs. There are Creepshow
Mm.
comic books in the shop,
Hmm.
which I thought was really
Hmm.
cute. we didn't really mention it before, but like there is the overarching story that connects everything at the end. Because
Oh,
the
oh
first one
yeah.
had the boy with his dad. This one has the boy who's picking up his Creepshow comic book and has some bullies that he has to deal with.
It's animated. And
And
it's
it's
animated.
animated, yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Sorry
And
guys. We're just gonna put this in right now because I forgot.
well, I don't know if you noticed it, but the comic book that he gets his Creepshow comic book, it's
Yes.
the same cover as the one that the kid was reading in the first one.
Hmm.
So they're continuing on like the idea of that issue, and I believe that's the same one that's put into the shop. So that I
Hmm.
like the connective tissue of that of being as from the first one into this. There's also a connecting thing that's going to happen from Old Chief Woodenhead to the raft,
Mm. Hmm.
and so in the Old Chief Woodenhead, you notice that we go to every person's house, right? Like the teenagers or the younglings that are dickheads.
Hmm.
Old Chief Woodenhead goes to each of their homes, and in each of their homes, they're all watching TV, and they're all watching the same show, which is the Cisco Kid,
Yeah.
and that
And
those names pop up in the raft.
yes, I just realized that. Thank you, Georgia. I'm like when you were saying it, I'm like, oh my god, that's the nickname that the
Yeah,
jock guy calls the
yeah.
like
He's like, "Hey,
nerdy guy.
Pancho,
Yes.
hey, Cisco."
Oh my god, you're right. Sure. See, we're teaching each other. We're taking each other to school right now. We're
Yeah,
teaching. Okay,
but
I
I think
feel
that's what
bad
showed
because
that Ramiro had wrote because he's thinking about how to connect these things already.
brilliant. So I feel bad for missing out on the beginning because at the beginning of Creepshow 1, there's like an sorry, Creepshow 2, there's like an animated creep,
Yeah, it goes
and
from
he's
live action and then
it,
it turns into animation.
there's a live action first where Tom Savini's
Yes,
dressed
Tom's
as the
is the
creep.
creep. Yeah,
Yes, Tom Savini's a creep and he's delivering the comics.
yeah,
And then it sorry, yes, and then it turns into the creep in like his like castle, and then it goes to the kid who has the bullies, right?
yeah. Like so, he gets his comic book, and much like the
Mm,
kid from the first movie, he
yeah.
also ordered something that's going to help him deal
Yes.
with his troubles from the comic book.
Mhm. 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 It's a good one.
Yeah,
Okay, and then Chief Woodenhead, and then after that, there's so much to talk about in Creepshow. It's just hard not to get jumbled. After that, the next segment is The Raft, which you mentioned
yes.
with Poncho and Cisco. Okay, The Raft is a story that follows four college students who go swimming in a remote lake. They become trapped on a floating raft as a mysterious flesh-eating black blob surrounds them in the water. Talk to me. Talk to me about The Raft, George. How you feel
This
about it?
is another one of those ones I think like over time I've seen it differently. So like
Mm.
I'm a boy as a child, you know what I mean? You got these young people who are going to a raft, they take off their clothes, they're scantily clad, they're all hot, they're they want to get some naughty stuff done here. And I'm kind of all for it too. You know? But as an adult, I watch this scene, like this segment, and it's just like you were bad kids. You were all bad kids. Specifically the boys. Like I feel for the girls that are in
Yeah.
this thing. Like watching this as an adult, it's like this is a very problematic segment. This is a and it's specifically of Randy, the dorky friend, will say, like he's seen to be as possibly the good one, you know. But then it's later on, it's like you're not the good one. It's like your possible girlfriend just died, your best friend just died, and now you're left with his girlfriend. You got to protect her, and you guys are like up all night trying to make sure that this black tar creature in the lake doesn't eat you through this wooden raft. And then what do you do first thing in the morning when you survived? You try to feel her up and take advantage of her. Like, what is like if she woke up, what makes you think she would have been cool with this?
Yeah.
And so at this point, like I as an adult, I was like, man, I can't wait for that tar creature to freaking eat your ass. And it's like, and I just feel bad for the girls. Like these poor girls just dragged
Mhm.
out into this situation. These guys who are not heroes whatsoever. These are bad guys. Poncho and the Cisco kid my ass. Those two were respected men.
Oh, yeah, the guys in this one, like one of them is like verbally potentially physically abusive to his girlfriend. He's like, "Don't make me smoke you!" Like he's threatening to
Yeah.
punch her. And then you got essentially R-word attempt with a sleeping girl just gonna take advantage of her when their lives are at
Yeah.
danger. But no, of course, you're only thinking with your crotch.
And the music,
People
you
are
talked about the
dying.
music a lot.
Oh,
The
mhm.
music in that moment is so positive and
It's
cheerful
romantic
and hopeful. It's
almost.
just like, who are we kidding here?
Mhm.
It's like this is where the horror music should kick in. This
Oh, I know. I know, but I like that it kind of okay, when you watch it though, and I know the music is almost like a romantic kind of nice, but it's because they're trying to make it seem like she is enjoying it, right? Because she starts like kind of moaning a bit and moving her head around. So you're like,
yeah.
oh, is she actually into this? Then you realize because like it's tricking your mind to think like, oh, maybe this
Yeah, yeah. It's that false sense
it's
of like safety
totally
and
bad.
positiveness.
It's 100% bad. Like it is. It's
Yeah.
it's like the worst thing. Like it's so bad. But then when the reveal that she's actually getting her face eaten by the blob, the black goo guy, he's an entity underneath, and she peels her head this way, and she's just so scared and it's like betrayed. She's like, Randy, what? And it's
Yeah.
you know like the effects in this one. Oh,
Oh, so
like the
good.
oh the one friend when her hands up and it's just like pulling on her, and it's just oh my god, it's like skeletal. Okay, the effects in the raft. Oh, just it's beautiful. I this is the one where I'm like, it's high up for me. The Raft
Oh
is
yeah. I think it has
yeah.
a great balance of simplicity because of what the thing is.
Mm.
Like it looks like such a simple thing to create. Like, what is this? Just like some dish soap
Garbage
and maybe
bags?
some garbage bags, you know? You know, it's like it didn't like it took much effort to create the thing itself. But
Mm.
then, like you said, like when it starts actually eating at them and attacking them, that's when things get really good. The gore in this one is magnifique.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
chef's
it's so
kiss.
good. Like
Absolutely.
it's like these movies still hold up till today in the special effects because like it feels real.
Mhm.
Like it legit feels real. Like CG couldn't pull this off. You know,
No,
only the way that Tom did it in this. Tom Savini crushed it with this scene. Like it's so freaking good.
it is better than a lot of stuff these days. Like it's so
Yeah.
good. I wonder too. I'm like, is this one like a little bit of a commentary on like pollution and oil spills and like
Oh, I
stuff we do
definitely
with the
felt that
water?
because they talk
It
about
had
the oil
mm-hmm.
spill thing. Remember,
Oil
like he said,
spill.
he went and cleaned oil spills with like ducks or whatever. So like
Yeah.
there definitely is a reference to that. Oh, you know my favorite part of that?
What?
The burp
Yeah.
when it
It goes
burps.
away, and you hear the music in the car, it's all happy,
Yeah,
and then it's like, "Oh, actually, no swimming." That sign that's hidden.
yeah.
It's like, oh. Okay, so the final segment is The Hitchhiker. It tells a story of a woman who, after hitting and killing a hitchhiker with her car, is haunted by his increasingly decayed and persistent corpse. "Thanks for the ride, lady." Oh, again, quoted that all the
Oh
time,
yeah,
too. "Thanks for the
yes.
ride."
Hey lady, thanks for the ride.
So good. Okay, George, talk to us about The Hitchhiker.
This is another one that as an adult I've appreciated it more.
Me
Loved it
too.
as a kid, but I appreciate it for other little things. Like the stunt work in this actually is something that stands out for me in this one.
Mhm.
Because like this lady is trying to get home before her husband gets home because she's been cheating on him. A very popular theme in creep shows.
Yeah, but this is with, like, a John. This is, like, with a prostitute guy. She
Yeah,
pays him, right? Yeah.
yeah, Gigolo Man,
Mhm. Yeah, okay.
who is a fan of Stephen King because he has it on his bedstand.
He does. Yeah, he does, he do. Mhm.
So I thought that was a little cute nod right there. But yeah, but she's trying her best to get home before hubby, you know,
Mhm.
and in the process she ends up running over maybe a homeless man, but definitely someone who's just trying to get somebody, just trying to get somewhere,
Right.
you know. And the ghost of him haunts her along this drive. But like he's within that drive, like she eventually tries to like kill him because she's trying to just get rid of him now. So she just becomes a murderous bitch eventually
Mhm.
within this thing. And I just love the stunt work of like he's like on the hood of the car. And you gotta think back in the day, it's like someone was really there. Like there's this real person who's just like right in front of the car hanging on, and they're driving downhill, running into things. And like at times you probably could put a dummy, but then there's certain movements that this guy does. It's like that's a person. There is a
Yeah.
guy holding onto that car for dear life. Like it blew my mind, like just watching again as an adult and just like really thinking about it. Cause like now I watch like so much behind the scenes stuff of like how movies are made and everything. Like I love watching Corridor Crew and seeing their VFX reacts and also their stuntman reacts. And they'll break down a scene of how a stuntman does something. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch this scene. It's just like, how did they do this? How did they do this without getting hurt? Like this guy had to have broken some bones. Like this just looks so dangerous. And it just makes me appreciate it that much more, knowing that someone put their life on the line to make this scene look that much better.
So good. And he looks
Yeah.
so scary. He's he gets like progressively worse as it goes on. It's
Yeah.
like it's like American Werewolf in London, where I was like the guy how he gets progressively more
Yeah.
decayed. It's like that in this. And to the point where at the end it's like his tongue's all hanging out weird and it's like all it just he looks so bad. But again, he's this innocent guy. So it's like you're scared of him,
Yeah.
but he's just this innocent guy who was trying to get and this is another story where like almost plays on like the class system. She's this rich, too rich for her britches woman who and she's it's like went all to her head and she kind of runs over this guy and like just wants to move on from it. And I love how it's very contained to her and her thoughts and she's speaking her inner dialogue, I guess, but
Yeah.
going like increasingly more insane as it goes on and she's like talking to herself and she has that breaking point where she just hits him over and over again and you wonder too is he actually there or is it just the the idea of him haunting her, the fact that he killed someone, or is he? I like to believe that he's actually there because it's more fun. But it could be. It could just be all their thing. And then Stephen King got another cameo, him as a semi truck driver.
Yeah. This one's interesting too because how the events play out affect the timing of her husband getting home. Her hitting that guy gave her what she needed to get home on time and him not get there before her because he's the
Hmm.
guy that pulls up and sees that this poor person got run over. Her husband was like on her tail the whole time.
What is that? What it is? Is
Yeah.
that what happens at
Yeah.
the
Yeah. So the dude, so you know, she hits the guy and she runs
end?
off, right? The first car
Mm-hmm.
that comes up and pulls up on the dead body, that's her husband.
Hmm.
So her husband's the
Oh.
one who finds the body first. He meets Stephen King as a truck driver, and then I think a couple drives up afterwards. But he's the first one because he has a phone in his car because he's rich enough to do so, and he's the one who calls
Mm.
911.
I need to rewatch it now and like
See, and
really
the
pay
last
attention, pick
one
up.
has the most depth out of all of them too, because the
Yes.
his ghost is haunting her. It's just her guilt. You know, she's
Mm-hmm.
obviously guilty for what she's doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this, like, we're not it's not like the Leslie Nielsen one where it's like, all right, he's there's a very good possibility he is a bad husband, you know, and so we don't have to necessarily feel for him. But with this one, we don't really ever get the sense that this husband that she has is a bad man. You
No.
know, if anything, we get the sense that he's a good guy because
Mhm.
he calls for help for this poor guy who just got killed. He didn't have to do
Yeah.
that. He could have kept driving too, but like he did the right thing as opposed to
Mhm.
her, where she should have done the right thing. She's like, no, I'm more important than this person's life I just took. I gotta go.
Yeah.
To me, that showed the hierarchy of good people in that moment right there. Husband was good, she's bad, and she's
Oh,
just
it's
dealing with
true.
this overarching guilt that she's dealing with between her and him, and now taking this person's life. Like she's slowly realizing that she is a bad person, and it's almost like she's just trying to like rationalize to herself that like, no, I'm not bad. I'm good. I'm a good person. You know, like she's not saying those words, but that's the argument that's being had
Oh,
within this whole thing.
totally. Yeah, that the thing about Creepshow too is like a lot of innocent people go. Like, even the
Yeah,
hitchhiker, he's just an innocent guy. Creepshow 1, it's like a lot of the people who go are not good, except for Jordy, you
except
know,
for
like a
Jordy.
lot of
Yeah,
people, yeah, aren't good. And the janitor in Crate. But everything else is like, you want these people to go. They're not great people, but innocent people perish in every single one of these segments in Creepshow 2.
yeah,
So then at the end, we got the conclusion of the animated wraparound story with the boy and the bullies, and we find out what he ordered. And what did he
yes.
order, George? What do you get?
Venus flytraps. They eat
They eat
meats.
meat. See, and on my end, we said that at the exact same time, but I know when I edit it, I'm gonna say it like 2 seconds later because that's what it's like over the internet. But but yeah, they eat meat. Like it's just, oh
I wanted Venus flytrap so bad as a kid because of that cartoon.
yes. I've ever been to like the grocery store and they had those little ones and that and those little
Yes.
things. I know I had
Yeah.
one once just because I mean Audrey too from Little Shop of Horrors too, of course.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
this, but
Yes.
but this was like, yeah, get it. I needed it because of the creep show too.
I was gonna say, as much as I don't like the main bully, I always love the fact that he had spurs. Like it was such a weird thing. It's like, why does this kid have spurs? But at the same time, it's kind of badass.
You're so right. The Spurs. Yes, and they're riding bikes. It's like he's
Yeah, his mighty steed, the
yeah.
Schwinn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Spurs. Totally. And doesn't the Venus flytrap spit out the
Spit
boots
out the
after?
boot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What's your overall feelings on Creepshow 2?
Uh, I I think I love the overarching one story of
Mhm.
this one more than the first one.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
maybe it's because it's granted the first one was relatable to an extent, but like I think this one really is because like when you're a kid, you always had this bully that you can't get
Mhm.
off your back, No matter how many times you beat up your bully, they keep on coming. It's like, what's wrong with this guy's a cockroach? But like he found a solution. It's like Venus spy traps. That's what I need. Okay.
Yeah.
And I like the cartoon aspect to it because I loved heavy metal as a kid. So this kind of
Mhm.
became a part of like my marathon of things that I would watch together. So I thought
Mm.
that was a nice little thing to add. Like, granted, the first one had a cartoon also of the creep and everything, and like the transitions of the comic book were all
Mm.
animated.
Yes.
But like the fact that this had more story that was animated, I thought was cool
Mhm.
and gave it a little something extra. Plus, the creeper had a voice. I like that. He was telling
Mhm.
us the story of everything. That was really cool. So like, there was little new things that they added to this that made me appreciate it as much as I appreciate the first one. I will say like I don't enjoy the part two as much as I enjoyed part one, but it's like by like I don't know 5%. Like it's not a huge difference overall. I like that Ramiro gave more time for these stories to breathe, so it gave him some more leg room to do some really cool stuff.
Mhm.
At the same time, I feel like Stephen King was probably the better writer of the two when it came to
Mhm.
like the part one and the part two. I don't know what else to say about it besides like I love it and it's really good. There is a really goofy song at the end. I tend to watch movies all the way to the end of the credits, and
Mhm.
the ending song in the credits for this, it's so hokey and weird. It doesn't fit at all. Like
I
it
don't
it
remember
seems
it.
it's so out of place. It just doesn't make watch it again and you're like,
Okay.
what is this song at the end? Especially watch part two at till the end because you
Mhm.
get the weird music and it gives you a little like quote at the end. So at the
Mm.
very end of Hitchhiker of Creepshow 2, it says, "Juvenile delinquence is the product of pent-up frustrations, stored up resentments, and bottled up fears. It is not the product of cartoons and captions, but the comics are a handy and obvious, uncomplicated scapegoat. If the adults who crusade against them would only get as steamed up over such basic causes of delinquency as parental ignorance, indifference, and cruelty, they might discover that comic books are no more a menace than the Treasure Island and Jack and the Beanstalk Killer."
I mean, preach. Like, can I just
Right?
get that printed out and like mount it on my wall? Because that's amazing.
Yeah,
Did
that
Stephen
was
King write that?
from Collier's magazine, 1949.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, but no, I thought that was a nice little touch at the end. It's like, yeah, tell him Ramiro.
Well, yeah, and that's very much also reflecting on Creepshow 1, like the Tom Atkins story. Like that's
Yes.
exactly what it's about. So yeah, awesome. I'm with you. I love Creepshow too. I've always loved it since first day I saw it. I love The Raft. It's one of my favorite of all the Creepshow stuff. But I do hold the first Creepshow closer to my heart just because of what it did for my life. It changed my life essentially. It was a huge part of my makeup of who I am as a human. So I do prefer that one. But Creepshow 2 also like I'll champion that movie all the time. Like I love it. It's
Yeah,
good.
100%.
Okay, so what's your favorite segment in it?
It probably actually goes in order of my
Ooh.
favorite. Yeah, it's probably like
Okay.
the perfect setup for me.
Mine is The Raft. Like the Raft's my
Yeah.
favorite. And then Chief Woodenhead and then Hitchhiker. Okay, you know what, George? This is what I'm going to say to you right now.
Okay.
I watched Creepshow 3 last night for
Yeah.
you. So you better appreciate everything I do for you till the end of time, because I will just go and say right now that Creepshow 3 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how much I want to talk about it, is because I don't think it deserves to be related to Creepshow whatsoever. I don't think it feels like Creepshow. I don't think it
Nope.
I feel like I'm doing Creepshow a disservice by even being like, and Creepshow 3, because I don't think it should even have that title on it. But that being said, if you want to talk about it, you go ahead and I'll chime in with my thoughts. How about that?
First off, I'd like to point out, while I am very sorry that you watched Creepshow 3, and I've apologized for like the umpteenth time, you suggested to me that we do an episode about Creepshow.
I
And you're
also
like,
said,
will
do
you
we
do an
have to
episode with me? And I said, okay.
but I also said, do we have to talk about Creepshow 3? Because I haven't watched it and I didn't want to. But George was like, does, even though it's bad, we deserve to. I'll pull up that message right now. And you're like, and I think we deserve to be talked about because, it's part of the franchise. So we got to at least mention it. So, you know what? You can take the floor and talk about it, George, and I'll chime in with my thoughts. How about that?
All right, we'll see. Here's the bottom line, everybody. If I have to suffer through this, I need to know that someone else has also suffered through it too. And I need to
Yeah.
know that someone that can relate with me. And so that's what it is. Because my wife's not watching that movie. I tell you that right now. All right.
Good.
she,
You smart
she
woman.
got standards. But yeah, Creepshow 3, it's not directed by George Romero. It's not written by Stephen King. It's not adapted or referenced to anything that Stephen King has ever done. This is its own thing. It was made in 2007, I believe, straight to
Ugh.
DVD. This is not get a
Mhm.
theatrical release, rightfully so. It attempts to have the comic book reference that the first two did, but not so much. The only comic book reference it has is they had comic book and a comic book artist draw up some fortune teller like person for its like intro image and cover art, and that's it. Everything else is nothing to do with comic books whatsoever. So
Yep.
that aspect is gone. I do want to say something positive about it. And it's only because within our personal group chat, we've been talking about anthology pieces and how they're properly done and everything. You guys just recently did an episode on VHS Beyond, and I had the comment of that it didn't actually have a truly cohesive story arc that connected everything as a good anthology piece does. That overarching thing sets the theme and the tone of everything and lets you know what you're about to get into. This does have that to some extent in a way that even the first two creep shows didn't have, where every story actually does connect to each other. Like
Hmm.
they're all told in the same world. In the first two creep shows, there is a sense that maybe these could all be in the same world. They could also not be in the same world. They could also all be in their own realities of sorts. But in this, like, all these characters are reused in different story arcs, and you see like returning characters, returning items, returning storylines. Like there's relics, we'll say, or whatever, that are in each storyline that are brought to you by this one character or whatever. So like they're all tied together in some way or another. So it's
Mm.
like I will give credit to, like, they tried to do some kind of cohesive story there. That's the only credit I can give it, because after that, everything else is abysmal. The acting is horrid. The writing is not even cheesy. It's just bad dialogue. Like this,
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen I've seen better stuff in the indie circuit. When I used to run at film festivals, like this is just really bad. The directing's
Yeah.
not even great. Think
No.
about that opening scene. Like the opening scene is some of like the worst clip art manipulation that I've ever seen done in a movie. Like
I
it's just so
I was like,
bad.
what is this and why is this happening?
And then we go into our first segment, which is Alice,
Hmm.
and it's like the worst representation or reinterpretation of Alice in Wonderland that I think I've ever seen. It's so because it's reaching. It's so reaching of trying to be that, because our main character is named Alice. There is a white rabbit that
Hmm.
appears in this storyline. She ends up being the white rabbit, and she's going through these worlds that are parallel to hers, where like her dad has this new remote, and every time he clicks on it, all of a sudden her family changes. She has a black family, she has a Spanish family, she has a different family, you know, but she ends up getting like turned into a grotesque monster as each one progresses for no good reason. And then by the end,
She
she's a
doesn't
rabbit.
even care. She doesn't even be, she's not even like, oh my God, I'm deformed. Like, she's just
Yeah,
becoming deformed and she doesn't even care.
she's more focused on the fact that she's living this Groundhog's Day type reality, but where it's a different family every time. If there's one story in this whole thing that, you know, I'm gonna be fully honest, if I'm gonna be really fair,
Hmm.
take out Alice, take out the haunted dog, and I think that the radio, the call girl, and the professor's wife all have premises that if they were given to a better writer and a better creative team, there's something cool there.
I agree. I agree with that.
So I don't want to shit on it either. I think that there is something good here. It's just the people who are working on it, they weren't uh they weren't ready.
But I agree with the radio one. I love that it was just a radio, just like giving financial planning advice.
You gotta diversify. You gotta
Oh my God. I was like, what? First of all, she's just nagging him. Like, what? It's just a nagging radio? And then it's just like giving him financial planning. And like, just what a funny concept. And then also the Rachel Hall girl one. Actually, I did actually when she is walking through the house and then you see that there's already
the dead
people that are
bodies.
dead in
Yeah.
there, I actually said, "Oh shit," out loud because I was like, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. So that one was actually had potential. The makeup actually at first wasn't too bad. Yeah, so my general feelings about Creepshow 3 was I guess there were some good effects, is what I said. There were some, it was okay. And I said, I never want to hear a jazzy bass guitar riff ever again. The music and score, I could not even get over it. I was like, this music, get it out of here. Like, just even if some of the scenes didn't have music in it, I think it would have been more impactful. But
Yeah.
the music was
Yeah.
so bad, so bad. And then I said, this has no business being a creep show installment. And then I said, it feels like an R-rated Goosebumps episode, but like not cool sound. Like, it's not cool, not a cool way.
Yeah, I
But
was
it
like,
felt
man,
like
that's a discredit to Goosebumps.
no, I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? It had that feeling where it's like a made for TV,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
cheap Canadian production. Like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Even though I love Are You Afraid of the Dark? It had like this cheap
Me too.
Canadian production horror, like whatever, but it's like not like just not
Yeah,
even like
just not
yeah,
good.
it wasn't good. Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't
Yeah.
good. I was like I had to force myself through it. I was like, "Good George!" Cursing.
Hey, I watched it for a second time, if that makes you feel any better. All right.
It does. It does. It makes me feel
And
so
I
much
knew it
better.
was gonna be
Thank
bad.
you.
I went into
Thank you.
something knowing that I was gonna hate it.
Thank you, George. If you watch Creepshow 3, watch at your own risk.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I'll say. You've been warned. What do you guys think? Do you love Creepshow? Do you think it's overrated? Have you not seen it yet? We think you should. George and I recommend, but don't take our word for it. No, do take our word for it
Yeah,
because it
take our
is
word for
amazing
it.
and beautiful. It is absolutely is art at its finest. You can find more of our content on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Not a Strong Start. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about it.
Tell your
And
friends.
tell your friends and comment down below. Let us know what you think about Creepshow. Love, hate, we want to hear it. You can follow me on Instagram at Marie Plays All. Where can we find you, Jorge Marrero?
You can follow me at Nicolopolis.
Never stop playing and never stop. Oh, I gotta say, Creepshow thing.
Never stop creeping.
Never
Right? Never
stop
stop
creeping.
creeping.
Never stop creeping.
Yeah.
Meteor ship.